Hi, this is Estelle Ellis, and you're watching Miharu, the fox.
Throughout video game history, certain female characters have redefined how we view their franchises. Cinder from The Legend of Spyro and Rivet from Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, before we even knew her name, mind you, instantly captivated their respective fandoms the moment they were introduced. But there are some who rise above their own worlds, leaving behind a legacy that extends far beyond the games they originated from. Names and faces you recognize even if you've never played their titles. These characters become symbols of their genres, shaping the medium itself and even bridging the gap between communities. And when it comes to a figure who has left a lasting impression on both gamers and furries alike, I can think of no better example than the Sapphire space vixen herself, Krystal. In the late 1990s, British video game developer Rare, formerly known as Rareware, was on top of the world with hit titles like Donkey Kong Country, Banjo-Kazooie, and GoldenEye. Following the release of Diddy Kong Racing in 1997, the team at Rare would begin dividing their work, with half starting on the third-person shooter Jet Force Gemini, and the other half on an unnamed project. After finishing work on Diddy Kong Racing, I started work on a project that was to become a 3D adventure game based in a fantasy-style world, similar to Ocarina of Time, but in a prehistoric environment. This was to be Rare's final game for the Nintendo 64, their swan song called Dinosaur Planet. It was an incredibly ambitious undertaking, with the story and scope being one of the most extensive of any game for the system.
Rareware was really good about pushing the console to its limits, and this game, I can't even believe what they were able to achieve with it.
Though originally featuring time travel mechanics and Timber the Tiger as the main character, these ideas would eventually be revised, and Dinosaur Planet would instead shift its focus to two characters who would be swapped between throughout the story, each with different abilities and operating in different locations. One, a wolf named Saber, Royal Knight of Animus, and the other, a young fox named Krystal. Orphaned at the age of 6 by Randorn's vengeful acts against her tribe, Krystal would spend the next 10 years in the wizard's care, growing into a skilled and acrobatic warrior. When their discovery of a hidden temple reveals the existence of a strange world called Dinosaur Planet, Randorn sees an opportunity to seek redemption by aiding its inhabitants. From that point on, Krystal's journey is filled with peril, rescuing a princess from an evil tyrant, surviving the planet's harsh conditions, navigating tribal conflicts, and uncovering the truth behind the ancient Krazoa spirits. With their trusty dinosaur companions at their side, it's a race against time as Krystal and Saber fight to save the planet, their father, and even themselves.
At this early stage, Krystal, voiced originally by Evelyn Fisher, was a 16-year-old fox girl of the Vixen tribe, skilled in the art of malakendo and illusion magic. She was the adopted daughter of the wizard Randorn, making her also the adopted sister of Saber. However, due to the nature of the game's development, story ideas and character lore were in constant flux. For example, despite those previously established relationships, one piece of internal documentation indicates that she has a crush on Saber.
Absolutely love her design. I absolutely adore the mixture of the blue and the white.
I saw the original concepts for Krystal, and I thought that would have been a very good start for her.
There was also a common misconception for a time that, due to her in-game model's sleeker appearance, this version of her was meant to be a cat. Character designer Kevin Bayliss has since cleared this up, stating he designed her specifically as an Arctic fox.
So how did Krystal go from that to this? Well, it's a tale I'm sure many of you are familiar with by now. The story goes that at some point during the development of Dinosaur Planet, well after its announcement and press demos had been released, a series of meetings took place between the Rare team and Shigeru Miyamoto, along with other big Nintendo names.
During these meetings, Miyamoto commented that Saber bore striking similarities to Fox McCloud, and with his blessing, the decision was made to rebrand the game as a Starfox title, moving it from the sunsetting N64 to the then upcoming GameCube. For years, there were rumors that this transfer was an aggressive command on the part of Nintendo, but according to Rare employees of the time, aside from some initial apprehension, it was seen as an opportunity that they were fully on board with.
It was just so exciting to get the opportunity to actually introduce some of these famous characters into our concepts and rewrite the story and sort of take it in another direction.
And so, work on Starfox Adventures officially began.
It's a shame that Dinosaur Planet never came to be, but as a turn, some of it could be saved and implemented into another franchise.
It does a lot of things different, but I think it's still pretty good.
We were to work with Shigeru Miyamoto and Takaya Imamura, ironing out design issues and coming up with a new storyline to make things flow smoothly. And that's exactly what we did. Starfox Adventures was released to the world on September 23, 2002, just one day before Microsoft completed the acquisition of Rare. It was a radical departure from what the series was known for. Unlike the on-rails space battles from the original game and 64, a majority of adventures would see Fox McCloud exploring Dinosaur Planet, later renamed Soria, on foot, much more akin to a Legend of Zelda title than Star Fox.
The game closely follows the story of Dinosaur Planet, retaining its basic plot points and certain characters, though heavily scaled down to make room for the Star Fox-related content and the reduced development time. This unfortunately resulted in said content feeling tacked on and forced in some areas, along with the complete removal of locations like Golden Plains and Discovery Falls. R-Wing sections were added as a means of navigating the planet, and General Scales was sidelined as a final boss in favor of a more recognizable villain.
I think it's pretty fine as a Zelda clone, especially as Rare's last official Nintendo game on a home console before they were a Microsoft company.
While the change to a Zelda-style adventure turned some off, for me it was a big improvement.
The game opens with Krystal, voiced by Estelle Ellis, flying through a stormy night sky. Investigating a distress call from the planet Soria, she loses her staff while trying to defend herself from an attack by General Scales' flying galleon. She and her Cloudrunner friend manage to disable the ship's weapons, but upon boarding, Krystal is confronted by Scales, who brags about his intent to conquer the entire planet before quickly tossing her overboard. Fortunately, she's rescued by the Cloudrunner and they escape, making their way to Krazoa Palace. The dying Earthwalkers at the palace explain that Scales attacked them and displaced the Krazoa spirits. After finding one of them in a Krazoa shrine, Krystal returns it to its rightful place, activating a beam. An unseen figure then ambushes her from behind, knocking her into the beam and trapping her, ironically, inside a crystal device where she remains for a majority of the game.
The rest is played as Fox. His mission involves aiding Soria's local dinosaur tribes and healing the planet's core powers, the Krazoa spirits and the Spellstones, to prevent its destruction. In Thorntail Hollow, Fox discovers Krystal's lost staff and learns to use it as a weapon and puzzle-solving tool, eventually embarking on a quest to retrieve the Spellstones alongside the Earthwalker prince Tricky. After recovering the first Spellstone, Fox is asked to recover the remaining Krazoa spirits as Krystal's condition worsens. Initially hesitant, he's convinced by Tricky and soon retrieves a spirit to bring to Krazoa Palace, where he sees Krystal for the first time and is immediately captivated by her beauty.
Wow, she's beautiful.
Needless to say, he's now determined to save her. After thwarting enemy forces, rescuing more dinosaur allies, and placing the rest of the Spellstones, Fox and crew realize the Krazoa spirits alone have the power to reassemble the broken planet. With one left to find, Fox confronts General Scales, who yields to an unknown force and gives up the final spirit. Hoping to free Krystal, Fox returns it, and all 6 are absorbed into her before transferring to a nearby statue. The device she's trapped in explodes, and Fox catches her as she falls. Confused, Krystal grabs her staff and attacks the statue, which flies into space ranting about power and calling itself a god. This entity turns out to be none other than Andross, whose spirit had wandered to Dinosaur Planet and manipulated Scales and our heroes into reviving him. With the help of Falco, Fox engages Andross in a classic space battle and defeats him once again. The Krazoa restore the planet to its rightful state, and the Starfox team celebrates a successful mission and the return of their old teammate. The game ends with Krystal boarding the Great Fox, expressing her gratitude to Fox for saving her, and hinting at a blossoming romance between the two.
I think there was potential in the melding of the projects, but there just wasn't enough time.
If any Star Fox game simply must have a remake, it's that one.
For those familiar with the history and development of Dinosaur Planet, both then and now, it can be shocking to see what ultimately became of it. In retrospect, the changes made to create Star Fox Adventures seem very jarring, and it makes perfect sense why it never truly felt like a Star Fox game, and why parts of it seemed rushed or unfinished. At some point during the transition to Adventures, Krystal was almost cut from the game entirely, but Imamura personally liked the character enough to do many sketches of her and advocate to keep her in. And while this did result in what is now an iconic depiction, it could not save the decreased amount of screen time.
Unused voice lines seem to indicate Krystal was meant to play a slightly larger role toward the end of the game, temporarily teaming up with Fox after being freed, and perhaps even being more involved in the final battle.
Why did you help me? You didn't know who I was. I could have been evil. Fox! Look out! Is it over? Well, Fox, I guess this is goodbye.
I like her SFA look, but personally wish she had as much screen and playtime as she was supposed to in Dinosaur Planet.
I liked her personality and her character design, and it's a shame we couldn't play as her more throughout the game.
It's a simple role, but that's what Krystal had to do, and she did it just fine in my opinion.
Changes don't always come easy. Changes have to be fought sometimes, they have to be argued. We had committed to make a Star Fox game, and then therefore we'll have to make some sacrifices to achieve that.
As for why she looks the way she does, that was due to another one of Miyamoto's comments. He had always thought of Star Fox as a serious and mature sci-fi series, so it only made sense to him that there should be a character with some sex appeal. Imamura agreed, and Krystal was redesigned to match this vision. Now 19 years old, with a distinctly tribal look, complete with a bikini top and abstract markings on her body. According to him, this redesign was inspired by Vampirella, a vampire superheroine from the American comic series of the same name. The intent was to have her stand out amongst the established cast, but not so much that she look out of place. I drew some quick sketches of Krystal with that kind of image, and had a lot of discussions with Rare, so this version turned out to be much sexier.
A lot of furry designs really become way too animalistic or way too human. The Star Fox cast struck that perfect middle ground.
The American instruction manual also gives her a new backstory, introducing her as the sole survivor of her home planet Serenia, who responds to the distress call from Soria, hoping to find answers behind the death of her parents. It was also decided at the last minute to have her, as well as the dinosaurs, speak in a fictional language, which would become a minor plot point later on.
I was honestly very curious about her backstory. It's such a shame that this was never really followed up as far as I'm aware.
Adventures proved to be a moderate success, receiving favorable reviews and being generally liked by the gaming public. And despite being one of the first games on the Nintendo GameCube, its graphical fidelity is still held in high regard.
For me, the biggest loss from the original Dinosaur Planet was a chance to play as more characters.
Though much information about Dinosaur Planet had been archived over the years, many had given up hope of ever seeing this initial concept fully realized. For quite some time, even before the condensed story and 1 hour of gameplay were posted in 2012, all we had were some old IGN demos and a trailer. As far as we knew, these were simply remnants of what could have been, and the idea of actually playing the game was nothing more than a pipe dream.
Fairly early on, older versions of files dating to the Dinosaur Planet period were found in the source code of the finished Star Fox Adventures, as well as the official kiosk demo disc used in retail locations. These contained alternate dialogue text and information that was later used to reconstruct cut parts of the two games. One noteworthy difference was Saber's model being replaced with Fox. The character for the most part remained unchanged, but instead referred to himself as the Royal Knight of the Lilat System. Krystal, meanwhile, stayed the same.
It was one of these mid-transition builds that was eventually found in a private collection and publicly released in February of 2021, finally giving people a chance to experience Rare's original vision. It has its share of bugs and glitches, and there's no real ending since the story was never finished, but an active community of artists and developers are currently working to correct and complete this build to be fully playable.
It is just fascinating to be able to play this game, which it really feels like something from an alternate dimension.
I remember thinking, wow, I really need to get this right because this is the difference between having a job and not. And I gave it my all. And I just instantly felt connected to her, really. And I suppose I injected so much of myself into her. She had that very spiritual, empowered aspect. I just thought she was rather magical.
Her design has undergone a lot of changes over the years, but I think it goes without saying that whenever people think of Krystal, they think of her portrayal in Adventures.
What could I say? I found the idea of a attractive female fox in a tribal bikini very alluring.
I was quite shocked with her design choice and intrigued with her brief backstory, but I think the reason why Krystal really caught my interest was the way she was introduced to begin with.
When Krystal was introduced, the Starfox fandom found themselves split in two. There were those who either liked her or were indifferent, and then there were the hardcore traditionalists, who insisted that something like Adventures could not even be considered a Starfox game at all. They would later go on to blame the series' decline on this one character alone, presumably because she was such a visible component of that change.
I myself was following the development of Adventures pretty closely at the time, and I will never forget that first time I tried the demo at a kiosk in my local Walmart. Having been a big fan of Star Fox 64, I jumped at the chance to try out this new game. What I was greeted with was a blue fox girl in clothing that was shocking. Not so much to me personally, but rather, I couldn't believe Nintendo would make such a scantily clad character given their more kid-friendly focus. But I trusted Nintendo, and figured they had a good reason.
As for me, I had never played a Star Fox game in my life at the time Adventures hit store shelves. I remember being in presumably a GameStop, looking at all the box art, and that's when I saw it. The yellow lettering on that blue background, the group of dinosaurs surrounding our heroes, that was cool enough. But that's not where my eye went. No, I took one look at that pretty fox lady and I said to myself, I need to play this game now.
She's really cool, badass, she's beautiful, and she just is the perfect partner for Fox overall.
Like a lot of female characters around this time, she sported the action girl / love interest badge loud and proud.
Well, it all hinges on one thing. I'll only join if you'll kiss me.
It's obvious that Krystal was a major selling point for this game. Here you have this strikingly beautiful character that's plastered all over the promotional material, built up like she's gonna play a big role, and then you actually play it and she's barely a footnote. Not only does it make you wonder how she skyrocketed in popularity to begin with, but how did being a damsel in distress make her at all a suitable love interest for the main protagonist, let alone the perfect one?
I still believe Star Fox Assault is the single best game on the GameCube in terms of gameplay, graphics, and writing.
Star Fox Assault began under the working title Star Fox Armada, not to be confused with the rumored Wii U pitch by Retro Studios. Initially planned for the Triforce arcade system, the game would have made use of ORBS, a fully immersive arcade cabinet designed specifically for on-rail shooters. This version of the project would eventually be cancelled and move to a full retail release for the GameCube in 2005, adding on-foot missions and multiplayer.
Assault is set 1 year after the events of Dinosaur Planet. The Star Fox team, no longer strapped for cash and dealing with broken down equipment, now have new R-Wings and a fully upgraded Great Fox as their mothership. The game starts by introducing an imposing new threat, biomechanical insects known as aporoids. These rare life forms seek to invade and absorb everything in the Lilat system, forcing the team to hop from planet to planet, trying to counter the invasion and gather the resources necessary to take the fight to the aporoid homeworld.
Once there, Fox and Krystal disable the shield to enter the planet and confront the source of the aporoids, but only at the cost of Peppy's sacrificial kamikaze. Inside the planet's core, with some unexpected help from rival team Starwolf, the Star Fox crew is able to reach the aporoid queen and defeat her with a self-destruct program. With the complete destruction of the aporoid threat, Peppy and many others who were infected during the war are able to make a full recovery. By the end, Fox and Krystal are shown to be in a comfortable professional relationship, and maybe even something more as they continue to spend time together.
Upon first glance, my very first thought was, whoa, who's this beautiful blue new girl and when did she join the team?
I like that they gave her a little more temper, a little more fieriness to her.
Star Fox Assault is the game that cemented Krystal, voiced here by Alesia Gladwell, as an official member of the Star Fox team, becoming the sole female representation and even overshadowing well-known characters such as Kat Monroe, Miu, and Faye. She is now fully integrated into the crew, learning their language, becoming an R-Wing pilot, and trading in her tribal clothing for a slick blue jumpsuit, which has since become just as iconic a look for her.
I really like the new outfit she has in that game specifically.
I think Star Fox Assault is probably my favorite portrayal from the official games, portraying her as an active team member, but I guess I wish she had a more of a lead role.
Her introduction places her in a more supporting role as the team's telepath, taking over as the fourth pilot with Peppy stepping into the role of advisor. Now acting as one of the wingmen in Fox's squad, Krystal uses her extrasensory perception to help the team, and shows empathy for those who find themselves in the crosshairs of war. However, she is far from passive, often interjecting her ideas and proving her worth as much as any other member of the crew.
She felt much more fleshed out and constant, not serving as a serene one from the team, maybe like a mother or a sister figure.
She just felt like a really take-charge type of woman who was not afraid to get her hands dirty.
It's time to do or die. Let's move! That's no way to treat a lady. Eat this! Don't worry, Fox. I think I'm going to enjoy this.
In a 2005 interview with the game's developers, Imamura mentions one of the main reasons for having Krystal join the team was to provide some continuity, rather than retconning the black sheep out of existence. He and co-producer Tsuyoshi Kobayashi also discussed how difficult it was to narrow down her personality, since there wasn't much to work with before. Eventually, it was decided to give her a balance of different traits, strong-willed and compassionate, but also mysterious, and even a bit flirty.
I love the interaction with Krystal, Fox, and the other characters. With the time skip from Adventure to Assault was a great way to give the cast some time to get to know each other in between.
Though Krystal's staff is nowhere to be seen in Assault, her mental abilities are on greater display this time around. She can remotely read the emotional state of enemies to warn the team of ambushes, and provides insight into the strange thought patterns of the Aporoids. She's even able to psychically sense distress from great distances. For example, Soria, which is at minimum half a solar system away from her at that point in the game.
I don't think that ever really gets explained, but it's something to make her unique, so she stands out at the very least.
While the game doesn't give a proper explanation for it, it should be noted that the idea of Krystal being telepathic didn't come from nowhere. This particular characterization is actually derived from the Japanese Manual of Adventures, which places greater emphasis on these strange powers. This is also the only time she would be made playable on foot outside of her debut, being a selectable character in the game's multiplayer mode, which gave her an actual chance to show off her combat skills.
She adds a new dynamic to the team as love interest for Fox. Assault naturally makes these characters feel like they have established history.
I really liked Krystal's character and enjoyed her active dialogue with Fox and the rest of the team. I still think it's a massive missed opportunity that Assault did not let you play as different team members in the single-player campaign.
Her relationship with Fox is also much more pronounced. Throughout the game, they act relatively professional towards each other, but it's clear from their interactions that she knows Fox has a crush on her and teases him about it on at least one occasion.
The way they ooze out is just so repulsive. It makes me feel like I'm going to fade away.
Krystal!
I'm okay. I'm protected by all of your warm feelings.
I thought that she had a lot of urgency to her character, and getting to return to Dinosaur Planet for one of the best missions in the game was the icing on the cake.
The nostalgia is on full display in the Soria mission, when Fox and Krystal return to the surface of Dinosaur Planet where they first met. It is here where one of fans' favorite scenes in the game occurs.
I'll take care of things here, so you two can come back on your honeymoon.
What are you, nuts? We're not yet,
Not yet.
I mean, this isn't a conversation for children.
However, with this relationship came complications, which would serve as one of the inciting plot points for the next game in the series.
Just 1 year later in 2006, we received Starfox Command, the first handheld game in the franchise for the Nintendo DS. It was a return to form, with gameplay similar to 64, but featuring a map system and battle mode reminiscent of the, at the time, unreleased Star Fox 2. The story is set a few years after the Star Fox team's last adventure. The crew has since disbanded. Peppy has been promoted to commander of the Cornerian army, Falco is a thrill-seeking loner, and Slippy has retired to start a new life with his fiancée. Krystal's whereabouts, however, after being forced to leave the team due to Fox's growing concern for her safety, are unknown. While patrolling the galaxy with Rob-64, Fox discovers the existence of the Anglars, a race of aquatic beings bioengineered by Andross and living beneath the acidic seas on the planet Venom. The Anglar Emperor's army has begun taking control of various planets across the Lylat system, and upon learning their next target is Corneria, Fox decides to go it alone and take on the entire armada by himself.
From this point, there are multiple paths the story can take. The game has a total of 9 possible endings, with number 3 being the one all first-time players must see before unlocking the ability to access the others. Due to comments made by director Dylan Cuthbert, Command is considered a non-canon entry, instead taking place in an alternate timeline. Cuthbert has since elaborated that he was referring specifically to the branching paths, and that none of the endings were written with the intent of being the canonical one. This is further supported in a 2011 interview with Takuya Imamura, who openly acknowledges the game as the conclusion to Fox's story.
It's meant to be like a branching path storybook, so it's meant to be like a thing you pick up and then you play for a bit, like 15 or 20 minutes a day, and then you put it down, then you pick it up the next day and you play it again, but you go a different path. You find out what happens if you had said no at that point or whatever.
The default path on a first playthrough is called the Anglar Emperor. Upon arriving on Corneria, Fox and Rob discover the Anglars have seized control, prompting a reunion with Slippy to bolster their forces. Their efforts lead them to Ficina, where they rescue Peppy's daughter, Lucy, who reveals Andross's nephew is leading the invasion. After defeating him, Lucy confronts Fox about Krystal and his decision to remove her from the team. Fox tries to justify his reasoning for doing so, but Lucy gets in his face and accuses him of prioritizing the mission over his love for her.
Subsequently, seeking to ensure the safety of his fiancée Amanda, Slippy leads them to Aquas, where Falco joins them and breaks some shocking news. He overheard Krystal's voice in an intercepted transmission from Starwolf, suggesting she's now allied herself with their rival team. Fox doesn't know what to do with this information, but doesn't question her decision, as he only has himself to blame. Starfox is then contacted by Peppy, who tells them that Anglar forces are advancing on Corneria, and Starwolf has reached the Venom base, prompting immediate action.
In Sector Z, they receive a message from Krystal, who lends her assistance at the request of Fox. After the battle, she reveals her motive for joining Starwolf as retaliation for Fox pushing her away, while also admitting to persuading Wolf to join the fight. Slippy asks what happened to Wolf and his team, and she tells them they got separated after destroying the Anglar HQ. At the asteroid belt, the Anglar Empire is defeated and Starwolf shows up unharmed. Krystal expresses relief at their safety and apologizes to them, specifically to Panther, who had developed feelings for her during the events of the last game. He says he understands and that he believes she'll return to them someday. Starfox then celebrates their victory and the crew being back together. The Lylat system is at peace once again, but as months pass, Fox's inability to address his feelings toward Krystal ultimately drive her back to Starwolf permanently, leaving him isolated and regretful. She, however, does not regret her choice, becoming the toughest pilot in Wolf's squadron.
Command isn't canon.
They just picked her up and flushed her down the toilet. Of course, everyone's character got mostly butchered, but to me, Krystal just got it the worst.
To a majority of the Starfox fanbase, Command's most glaring issue is the poor characterization of most of the cast, especially Krystal. But for all her flaws, she's arguably the character who receives the most focus, being the one who discovers the means to fight the Anglars on their home planet, and being the only character with more than one outfit in the gameplay, showing her in the Cornerian Air Force uniform in some of the storylines. This is also the one and only time she interacts with Kat, as the two are revealed to be partners in Path Number 5.
Many of Command's main plot threads revolve around Krystal, but it's more to do with her relationship with Fox and not her own character or backstory, which is what many fans really want.
Her strained relationship with Fox is largely the reason why he finds himself alone at the beginning of the game, and there are 4 other endings that center around what ultimately becomes of her.
In ending number 1, Fox, having realized the true value of friendship and love, tries to convince Krystal to rejoin the team. She initially refuses, but after some input from Falco and Slippy, and a promise from Fox that they'll always be together, she accepts.
In number 2, Starfox agrees to disband after Fox decides to leave, preferring to live a quiet life with Krystal. The two have a son, named Marcus, who eventually becomes the leader of the next Starfox team.
In number 4, Starwolf is praised for their efforts and victory over the Anglars, but the people of Lilat are less kind to Krystal, believing it was wrong of her to abandon Starfox. Eventually, their hateful words become too much for her to bear, and she flees to a distant galaxy, becoming a bounty hunter by the name of Cursed. Years later, she runs into Fox, who doesn't even recognize her.
And in number 5, Krystal, along with the other girls, sets up a celebration for Starfox upon their return from defeating the Anglars. She later has a private conversation with Fox, and after a heartfelt reconciliation and confession of love for each other, she agrees to rejoin the team.
They really mischaracterized her, like, that was like character assassination 101.
There's unnecessary drama, and it's all a bit cheesy. However, it does still grip me, and I do like the variety in choices and endings.
The default path, while its ending says pretty much everything we need to know about this game, doesn't actually provide much in terms of interaction between Krystal and Fox. The way she acts in these other storylines, specifically 1 and 4, is what many people are referring to whenever her character assassination is brought up. Let's take a look at some of this wonderful dialogue.
I think that there could have been better ways to handle it because it did seem out of character for her.
I don't know what was going through their head, but they absolutely destroyed her character and all she stood for.
While looking into why this happened, I came across something quite interesting. In a Reddit post by user Dinoman96, they compare the script of the Japanese version of Command to the Western localization. According to the original text, Krystal, disappointed with Fox being needlessly overprotective, left the team of her own volition, which pushed her to join Starwolf in an attempt to prove herself. The player's actions determine whether she reconciles with Fox and acknowledges her mistakes, with Slippy playing a key role in influencing her change of heart. It paints a more nuanced picture of her growth and remorse, while the English version plays up the woman scorned trope and portrays her as consistently hostile up until the end. This is also the case with the infamous 4th ending. The Japanese version seems to imply Krystal's desire to move beyond her past, while embracing the part of herself she left behind, renaming herself Krazoa, an obvious reference to Dinosaur Planet, rather than the much more dramatic and self-loathing Cursed.
The lore they made for the game was interesting, as it added more romance and drama to the character stories, but I do think Assault's story was the better bookend to the series.
That's not to say that this version of Krystal went entirely without any sort of praise, though. Some believe that Command actually enhanced her character, depicting her with realistic flaws that made her more three-dimensional.
What I love about her role in this game is that the story reveals her flaws. Krystal's not just a 2D psychic piece of arm candy for Fox. She's stubborn. She gets mad when she's hurt. She makes bad decisions, but can also fix them. Command gave her far more agency, space to breathe and make decisions while being subject to responsibility. The Cursed ending, in my opinion, showcased this point perfectly while making sure she faced consequences for her betrayal and demonstrating that she can manage on her own just fine, aka the opposite of adventures in every regard.
I think they try to make her fit in more with the rest of the cast, but from what I've seen around, it kind of feels like her presence has been reduced, or at the very least, it's been altered.
Crazy as it may seem, it has been 20 years since Krystal was properly featured in a mainline Starfox game. 2016's Star Fox Zero for the Wii U was a reimagining of 64 and therefore did not include her. In Starlink Battle for Atlas, while the Star Fox team was added as a faction exclusive to the Switch version, our Blue Vixen was nowhere to be found.
It was a shame though that they did not include Krystal in Star Fox Zero, but I am impressed she is still acknowledged in the Smash Bros. Series onward.
I only knew of Krystal because of her appearance in Smash Bros, and I didn't even know that she was in the same series as Fox and Falco.
Since her debut in the Star Fox universe, many fans have expressed their desire to see Krystal included as a playable character in the Super Smash Bros. Franchise.
Super Smash Bros. Brawl's Japanese site had a forum where fans could submit characters for inclusion in the game, and Krystal was often requested. In America, there was a community signature writing effort to get her included in the game too. This ultimately didn't happen. In Super Smash Bros. Brawl and Smash 4, Krystal appears as a trophy, stickers, and shows up in the Star Fox Smash taunt conversations. In an interview with Masahiro Sakurai shortly after Brawl's release, when asked why she wasn't playable, he said it wasn't realistically possible given the time constraints, and instead opted to add Wolf due to his model's similarities to Fox and Falco.
It wasn't until Smash Ultimate that Krystal finally got to join the fight. Sort of. While still not an official part of the roster, it's here that she makes an appearance as an assist trophy, once again rocking her classic Adventures look and dealing freezing damage to enemies with her Ice Blast.
I want to see more of her. I want to get to know her more. I want to have her be in the action more, succeed and fail and fight and, do a lot more things.
When a character isn't treated well or properly utilized within their canon, fans often take it upon themselves to tell the stories that may otherwise never be told. There's definitely no shortage of fan art, fanfics, and cosplay of Krystal making the rounds today, but when it comes to fan games, I believe that she is a particularly special case.
I look at fan projects like Star Fox Event Horizon, and I think that represents what is probably my ideal.
In the late 2000s, a small developer by the name of Undying Nephilim began working on a game called Project Cursed, a first-person shooter starring Krystal's alter ego as the main character. Unfortunately, as with most fan projects of the time, the team behind it soon realized they were in over their heads, leading to its early cancellation. Some years later, Undying would return, now with the experience needed to start up something new, a real-time strategy game called Starfox RTS. Like Project Cursed before it, it too would follow Krystal as she joins the Cornerian army and uncovers the secrets of her past. While this game did get further in development and even had a playable demo, Undying would eventually decide to port all its assets over to Free Space 2 and change the genre, leading to what we know now as Star Fox Event Horizon. Unlike RTS, Event Horizon is a classic space shooter which aims to merge the events of every game in the series into one cohesive narrative, featuring a more mature storyline that expands on the lore and a massive roster of playable characters.
Krystal inspired me to start drawing and to start to write my own stories.
There have been dozens and dozens of other Krystal mods and fan games over the years. One notable project is Star Fox Reimadventures by Esperin. Announced in May of 2020, it was initially created as a tribute to and remake of Adventures, reimagining it as an open-world game heavily influenced by Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and No Man's Sky. It aims to be a much more cinematic experience, featuring a wide variety of playstyles and retcons of certain story elements to justify aspects of the lore. But perhaps the most famous of these projects is a complete Alex replacement mod for Half-Life 2. The creator, Gagnatar, was able to contact Estelle Ellis, and the two worked together to completely rewrite the dialogue to make it fit more naturally for the character. The announcement of this mod went viral, and ultimately got Estelle back into voice acting for Krystal.
Shout out to her for her wonderful work with fan projects and her still holding on to the role.
The fandom and the creators out there are just so talented, and I'm so grateful that people, feel that they can approach me and ask that I take part in what effectively is a lot of their pride and joy. So every single experience that I've had has been nothing short of wholesome. So I'm very grateful for that. The experiences never cease to make me happy.
I like Krystal in concept, but in execution, I feel like she didn't quite reach her full potential.
Krystal, in my opinion, is definitely one of the most underused Nintendo characters or video game characters of all time.
Krystal stands out as the defining link between furries and the video game world. While there are many females deemed quintessential in gaming culture, top 10 lists often feature primarily human women. This one broke that pattern, reaching a level of recognition comparable to icons like Lara Croft or Samus Aran. For a time, she was the only girl who really managed to survive in the Starfox franchise. Kat, as important as she is to Falco's story, is actually quite underdeveloped in the games she featured in, often helping the Starfox team but never really getting any time to herself. Imamura even admitted to preferring Krystal over Kat, claiming she was a much better match in regards to her appearance complementing her personality. Miu and Faye, while certainly famous within Starfox fan spaces, were considered non-canon due to their game being unreleased for years. And then there's Farrah Phoenix, a character from Benimaru Ito's original 1993 comics, and Fox's first love interest.
Krystal Yosek strikes that perfect fit of confidence, leadership, caring. It's just really cool.
She's fierce and gorgeous, strong even when in peril, yet commanding when she needs to be.
I think Krystal is the kind of character we need right now. Kind, good-hearted, but also has an aggressive side. I think we should all be a little bit like Krystal.
Controversial as she may be, it's wild to think about the impact she had on this series. She was created for an entirely different game, but now, most of us can't even think of Starfox without seeing her face in our minds.
She has won the heart of many furries, myself included, and I've even seen some non-furries who love her character too.
But she may have just very well been my gateway drug into the furry fandom.
Early on, a huge online forum called the Krystal Lovers Association served as a nexus for fans of both her Dinosaur Planet and Star Fox Adventures iterations. I would later become involved there and at the Star Fox fan site Star Fox Online, while also doing some independent research into the character. I investigated the source files of Star Fox Adventures and discovered unused audio and other hidden details. Combining that data with many other online resources, I launched the Krystal Archive in January 2006, where it remains a central source of Krystal news and information to this day.
When I left Rare, I kind of sort of closed the door on that, and also her, I suppose. I'd done my job, I'd voiced her, my work was done, and, it was only until a few years later, in fact a lot of years later, that I realised she still had a massive fan base.
I think it's awesome. I was just really excited to see it, but I was completely shocked when I first saw it because I had no idea. It's really awesome that there's a lot of people out there who liked Krystal's character and, enjoyed her in the games.
There's something about Krystal that's super special when it comes to furry characters.
I think there's a reason this character has really stuck with people. I think Krystal represents more than just pretty British woman in tribal bikini, I think there's more to her than that, and that's why she's really embedded herself into people's heads.
The love and appreciation people have for her is near impossible to put into words. It's one thing to draw tons of art, write elaborate fanfiction, or even maintain a Tumblr blog dedicated to a favorite character, but to spend one's time meticulously archiving every little bit of information about them for over 2 decades, that's an unmatched level of commitment. Overall, it's the fans, through their passionate creations and tireless preservation efforts, that keep Krystal not just alive, but still relevant in online discussions. For so many characters that fall into obscurity or go unnoticed by whoever owns the rights to them, she's become a symbol of resilience, this beacon of hope, proving that fan devotion can surpass corporate interest.
I underestimated very much the love for the character, and I underestimated the fandom as well, because they are a reflection of how I sort of felt about Krystal, but also how extraordinary she was to them.
They've yet to really acknowledge Krystal within the last 10 years, but she's definitely earned her place in the franchise and on the Star Fox team.
Krystal will always deserve to be remembered as the spotlight female character of the Starfox series in our hearts.
The Krystal we know today was forged in the chaos of a shifting developmental landscape, cast aside by poor decisions, and left to endure without official support. But much like a precious gemstone, she's only grown more treasured as the years go by. The recent release of the Starfox/64 remake for Switch 2 could very well be a sign of things to come, but we'll just have to wait and see.
It's making me hope that the series might have one last hurrah or one more go at it, and hoping to God that we get more things off the ground.
Even if Nintendo never gives her another chance, the Krystal archive will still be there. The art will still be shared. People will still discover Dinosaur Planet footage and wonder what could have been. Whereas any other character would have suffered a crushing defeat, for her, it was a miraculous victory. Thank you so much for watching, guys. A massive shout out to everyone who participated. Mr. K of the Krystal Archive for co-writing and narrating, Estelle for sharing her experiences, and Cloudy Pouty for the thumbnail art. Special thanks to my high-tier members, Agent Quasar, CB Puppets, Dr. Zugerdor, Evil the Sackboy, Liquid Ferret, Musa Scafato, Mutant Eye, Nuclear Crowd, Solid Sig, Stripe on Tail, Tanner Dakota, Venom Void, Video Nut Gaming, and Von Bob. As always, don't forget to subscribe for more casual gaming content, and I will see you next time. Until then, this is Miharu, signing off.